All right, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are, to everybody who is joining us for the KidCheck Express Check-In webinar. My name is Alex Smith. I'm the CEO of KidCheck, and just wanted to say on behalf of the KidCheck crew, thank you so much for joining us today. We are really excited to share with you about our new Express Check-In system. So before we get started, a couple of logistical items. First of all, this is a brand new webinar platform for us. So we appreciate any grace if something goes horrifically wrong. We'll try and correct it as quickly as we can. But a couple of things on your webinar window. There's a chat dialog box on the side. Feel free to ask questions in there, post comments, whatever you feel like. We have Alyssa with us today, who is head of our marketing team, who's going to be answering those questions and providing information back to the team later on. And we'll actually answer as many of those questions on the webinar as we can at the very end. So we've got about half an hour to go through this today. But before we get started, I thought I'd just take a couple of moments and kind of share with you the idea behind KidCheck Express, how KidCheck Express got started, and sort of the direction we're headed as a company with it. So KidCheck Express really kind of began really from the very foundation of KidCheck. When we first started doing KidCheck, electronic check-in was out there, but it was a very cumbersome and difficult tool to use. And so we had a lot of children's pastors that came to us that said, "Hey, Alex, I signed up as a children's pastor because I love kids and love ministering to them, love kind of the role that God has me in their life, but I didn't sign up to be an IT person." And so check-in is just it's very difficult to use. So we really built KidCheck from the ground up with that in mind, trying to make it as absolutely simple and easy to use as possible. Well, KidCheck Express kind of takes that idea to the next level. About 2 years ago, we sat down with some of our engineers and thought, what if you didn't need to have check-in stations anymore? What if there were no more computers to manage? What if we could just leverage the power of the cell phone device that over 95% of your parents have in their own pocket to make KidCheck and the check-in process just absolutely seamless and as smooth as possible. Eliminate the lines, reduce any kind of IT requirements. In fact, now with KidCheck Express, your parents can check in on their phones, and they don't have to connect to your wireless network. It's a very simple and turnkey system to use. So we really look at it as they're in the product lifecycle for software. There's evolutionary products where you have new features, new ideas that get implemented into the system, and then you have revolutionary ideas that really just change the entire landscape. And so we're really excited for KidCheck Express because we really feel that this is absolutely a revolutionary idea that will really change how check-in is done. So if you're not familiar with KidCheck Express and the overall system, we've got just a very brief video that will go through the process. And then after the video is over, Darren Hovde, who is our Vice President of Sales and Support, is going to go through a quick demo for you, and then we'll answer any questions when we get done. So Angela.
KidCheck Express Check-In benefits organizations and the families that they serve. Now the check-in process is easier than ever. No lines and no additional computer stations necessary. Parents love this because using the KidCheck app on their phone or any mobile device, parents start the check-in process from home or in the car or maybe in the parking lot, wherever there's an internet or cellular data connection. Then upon arrival at the facility, the check-in is recognized by the KidCheck system, and parents simply tap submit on their phone to complete check-in, and the labels print via the Print Hub Express. Parents love this for its convenience. Organizations love it because if you don't have to manage congestion and long lines, you can spend more time doing what you love to do, which is welcoming your guests. Parents and kids are quickly and safely through the process and on to the event that they came to enjoy. Simple, convenient, fast, and secure. KidCheck Express Check-In is one of a kind. Check it out. I know you're going to love it.
Vice President of Sales, and I just want to show you a brief explanation of what KidCheck Express and how to do the KidCheck Express off of a mobile device, your phone, an iPad, whatever you can actually use, so Android devices as well. Also remember just to go out and download that mobile app from either the Apple Store or Google Play Store, and you can be up and running. So on here on my screen, you can see that I've already signed in, and I've got 2 different IDs here. So if you wanted to share an iPad or a device in your church, you could easily do that. And you could even create another username, so you can have quite a few different usernames and passwords on this. So I'm going to go ahead and log in here, and I'll show you KidCheck Express. So down here at the bottom, what you're going to see is all the different items that you can utilize. So right here, you can do your profile, and you can see my profile there that I've got partially filled out. Then here is my child, Savannah, and you can add other children up here at the top right. And then the same with your guardians, having all your guardians right here, and authorized and unauthorized guardians. And then let's go show you the Express. So Express right here at the very bottom, and you just go in and say new check-in. You pick the place where you're checking into. So right here, I'm going to go ahead and check into KidCheck. And you'll most generally have one location you're going to check into, but KidCheck's in very diverse facilities out there. So you have YMCA, you have a fitness facility, you might have a church. So lots of different places you can check into. So we'll check Savannah in here and check her into whatever room. It'll default to the last location, so making it really simple. So you could just push next, or you can change that location. We can add a label. So we can go, hey, I need 2 for Savannah, 1 for a diaper bag, 1 for a sippy cup, whatever else. We can even add a note. So maybe she's not having a great day and we want to warn them. We can also go in here and next section here, you can even check in as a worker or a volunteer. So we'll go ahead and do that and show you that as well. So I'm going to check into preschool as well and help Savannah out. And then here's where you can specify any guardian that you want to pick up, or an extra guardian receipt, so you can have 2 of them. So we'll go ahead and say I'm going to have my wife Tammy pick up, and we'll press next. So now we have basically submitted a check-in, and while you're driving in your car or at home, there will be a spinning little icon right here saying looking for express check-in. Once you get to that location, the Bluetooth has to be turned on your device, and it will actually locate our express check-in print hub. Once it does locate that, it'll say, hey, do you want to go ahead and submit your check-in? Of course, advise your customers or clients to go to that printer, and then all you have to do is just say submit check-in.
So Darren, basically the parent is doing this as they're on the way to church, for example, maybe in the car or at home before they even leave. They've got everything prepared, and then when they walk in, the phone just detects that they're actually at the facility, and they can just click the green complete check-in button and be done. Is that correct?
Exactly, you bet. And then you can see right here, so maybe your facility has more than one check-in printer. So I will just put the printer that's right in front of me and go ahead and print those labels out. And we're done. And then also you can put in your guardian notifications here now. So now you can remind those parents, hey, turn your cell phone off, or hey, the daycare is going to be closed, or we're having an event, or whatever else. So lots of different things you can do with this reminder as well.
And Darren,
So simply, Go ahead.
I was gonna say there's no special setup required on with the parent's mobile device. Either it's Android or iOS, but you don't have to be on the church's or organization's Wi-Fi network. There's no special setup required in any way, right? You just walk in, click the button, the labels print. There's no drivers to load. There's nothing to manage. It just is all automatic.
Exactly, and that's what makes us here at KidCheck so in up to date and pushing the limits of technology. So I have a few more minutes, and I just wanted to talk to you guys real quick. Being that person or that company that's out there pushing the limits of technology, we also have another great app that we just released. And this one is called our Admin Console. And the Admin Console, it is an amazing tool for anyone out there. So this is basically a running roster of your facility. So you can see here everybody that is checked in kids-wise, and also you can see here is your volunteers or your employees. Okay, so and by seeing this list, you can make it really simple. If there's something going on with a child, you could go right up here and click on that child's name, and now you can see that Savannah is being picked up by Tammy, and all the information about Savannah, even that note I put on. You can see all the people that are approved to pick her up. And if you needed to get a hold of one of those people, you would just click on that person. And now you go in there and text message or call that person. So let's go to Tammy. I think her texting's on. There we go. So right here is your texting, and you can text message from there. So there's a lot of information about the Admin Console, and I don't want to get too far into it, but we would love to show you and teach you guys all about that, anybody that's already a customer. And that's what's great about KidCheck. You know, there's so much information out on KidCheck, or you can utilize through our support and sales team. You can go out here and express check-in. We can go out to support, and you're going, how do I roll this out to my parents? This is a difficult thing. It's going to be so confusing for people. Well, it's really not. So you just go out to our rollout documents, and you come down here to Express Check-in Introduction Tools, and there's everything you need to roll out to your parents, making it nice and easy for those parents to understand Express Check-in.
So Darren, I know with Express Check-in, one of the questions that we get frequently is, what happens if a parent does the Express Check-in on their phone? Organizations are hesitant to roll that out because there's the idea that, well, gosh, I don't want them checking in from home, and I have them on my roster list, especially if they don't ever show up. How is that handled with this?
Oh, good question, Alex. So the one great thing about that is it's really a pre-check-in. So we're trying to make this nice and easy for any church or organization or fitness facility. So instead of making our check-in, 15 to 20 seconds when you get there, it's more like 2 seconds. So this is a pre-check-in that you're doing right from your mobile device. When you walk into that facility, that mobile device detects the print hub, and you're off and running. It says, do you want to go ahead and print? You go ahead and print, and you're done. Does that make sense?
The idea behind Express Check-in is that because a parent is doing the entire process on their phone, including printing labels, they don't need to go to a computer anymore. There's no need to have check-in stations or lines. And in fact, it can really help save organizations a lot of money because you don't have all the logistics of computers and printers and labels and all that kind of stuff spread out throughout your entire building. You can just have the Print Hub Express if you want to have label printers, and that's all you need.
Exactly. And the cool thing is the Print Hub Express, you can put multiple printers on that. So with the Print Hub Express, you can come in here and put 4, 10 printers on that little device, and you can just purchase one of those and you have 10 printing devices as long as you have a USB hub to make all those printers run on that. Make sense?
Yeah. And then Darren, also back on, you were showing off the admin console, which is a new app that we also launched kind of in conjunction with Express to help improve the mobile experience overall for administrators. What are the fees for the admin console app, and talk a little bit about that?
You know, KidCheck's always trying to make it easy on your organization, and so this admin console is actually free. So you just go out and download that. All you have to do is have administrative privileges to be able to use the admin console. And you can have minimal admin console or admin privileges to be able to see this and text message your parents. So it's real simple.
So then you actually you could have, for example, your volunteers in a church organization or any organization. You could have all your volunteers load this onto their mobile devices, and then they have a real-time running roster of just the kids that are in their classroom, or the entire organization as a whole. However you want to split that out, and just see what's going on in real time.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can see here that I have everything, and it's showing every single room. But then I can go up and I can filter. And by filtering, then I can filter down the grade levels. So you can see right here. So I could say I just want the toddlers, or I want just the nursery, and then you're showing all that.
Great.
So I'll go ahead and turn this over to Q&A unless you have any more, anything else we need to touch on, Alex.
No, I think it sounds great.
So a lot of really great questions have come in. So let's go ahead and get started. This first one is from Mark from Topeka, Kansas. And Mark asks, is there ever a problem with long lines when numerous parents show up at once to pick up their labels?
That's a great question. I think that really depends on how many printers you have and how many parents you're trying to get through the process. The nice thing is when you're using Express Check-in with the mobile app, once you get within about 20 or 30 feet of the Print Hub Express, it detects the device and it will show you the printers that are enabled on that device. So it's a fairly close range. You can't print labels from the parking lot and that kind of thing, but it happens so fast because we're not doing like web page refreshes and all that kind of stuff. You click the button, our servers are sending the print job to the printer, and it comes off the printer in just maybe a second or two. So it's just so fast you can just walk right up and rip the labels off and go. So in fact, one of the very first times that I had the opportunity to use Express Check-in in my church, they actually had 2 or 3 people waiting for computers, and I think we have about 4 or 5 check-in stations. And I walked up to the little Express. We had a little Express Check-in test area. And I just hit the button on my phone and the labels came off, and one of the parents just looked at me and said, "How did you do that?" And so I started showing them the app, and I think within about 10 minutes, I think we had about 15 people all on the app doing Express Check-in and like, "Oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing ever." So parents were super, super excited to use it, and it just really helped alleviate. In fact, I haven't seen a line in our church in quite some time as a result. So it definitely will cut down a lot.
Excellent. So Louis has some other questions. We'd like to get those answered. Why would Express be missing from my app? So he obviously has the KidCheck app downloaded, and he asks, why is it missing from my app? Is there a way to talk to him a little bit about how the Express tab shows up in the app?
Yeah, so the Express, whether you're a parent or a parent or guardian or even an administrator, you're going to get the Express Check-in little icon in the bottom corner of your app. If it's not there, I would just double check to make sure you have the latest version. So you may want to go to the App Store and just make sure you've got the latest version. And if it still doesn't show up, just give us a call and we'll see what we can do to help resolve that. But it should be on every app. And in fact, Express Check-in is not limited to a specific version of KidCheck. Any version works from our Essentials Edition all the way up to Campus. It's available in all of them. So it should be there.
Excellent. And Louis' next question is, why the option to print multiple Guardian tags?
Darren, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take that. So the whole idea of being able to print multiple Guardian tags is so that person is actually authorized. So what if I were to I have 2 kids, and I want to give one guardian receipt to my wife and one to me, so we can pick up Madison and Savannah at the same time. Or we can even print out another one, and I can give it to my mom, and I can go pick up the infant, and she can go pick up the 2 older kids. That way, you can have multiple people picking up at the same time.
Yeah, my wife and I have 5 children between the two of us, and so for checkout, it's definitely like divide and conquer. So we each take a guardian receipt and just go get the appropriate kids.
Excellent. So let's go on to the next question. This question is from Mary, and she asks, can we have Express Print Hub queue for interim periods when you have to change the printer paper?
Yes, so that's a great question, Mary. In fact, we just released a new version of the software, which is it's in kind of a staged rollout right now. But there's a new version called it's version 2.02 for the Print Hub that actually will do print label detection. So if the labels run out on the printer, it will queue up those print jobs and then print them again. And that's available. And in fact, if you are still seeing that, if you want to call into our support team, they can actually force your print hubs to do the upgrade automatically, as we're kind of in this, again, staged rollout process. Otherwise, it'll, over the course of probably the next 30 days or so, your print hub should upgrade automatically.
Excellent. So the next question comes from Ben. And Ben, I hope if I slaughter this question, you'll retype it in the chat box. Ben asks, so the communication is via Bluetooth rather than wireless IP in the network?
Actually, that's a good technical question, and the answer is kind of. So your phone, actually, the parent's device is communicating with our servers over its regular network connection, so over the LTE or 3G connection. The only thing we're using Bluetooth for is just to detect whether you're in the building or not. So when you get within range of the Print Hub Express, which is transmitting a Bluetooth signal, it will detect that, and then it knows that I'm within range to go ahead and print. It actually doesn't even connect to the Print Hub Express. Again, it's just it's called a beacon. It's just a beacon signal. So there's really no configuration required of any kind on a parent's cell phone. It's literally just using their mobile data, and then just knows when you get close to the actual Print Hub Express.
Excellent. So this next question comes from Kate, and she says, my question regarding the KidCheck login, how do teachers have access to the logged in children? In the event of an emergency or fire, can we print out the logged in classrooms for rosters?
Yeah, of course. So the reports you guys have in your KidCheck, you can go in and do a current check-in roster. But if you want to give them minimal access, it's called start stop only. You can go in there and give them that access, and then they can have the admin console, and they can see a running roster versus a hard copy. They can have that on their phone, their iPad, their tablet, whatever they have.
So now, whether they're in the building or not, on their mobile device, they can see that roster list dynamically, and you don't have to print anything out.
Excellent. And then can you guys talk a little bit about how far can the Print Hub be from the actual printers on the tables?
Yeah, so that's really just a limitation of how long your USB cable is. So you can get USB cables that are 20 or 30 feet long, and you can plug in your printer into the Print Hub and run them quite a distance away. I think the standard cable that comes with a printer, and Darren, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's like a 6-footer, is that right?
Yeah, it is 6 foot.
So if you had two 6-foot cables on 2 printers with the Print Hub Express in the middle, you have 12 feet of kind of standard. But again, the cables are very inexpensive on Amazon. You can get them for $6 or $7 typically, and just move them where you need to.
But you know what? I've seen a lot of great setups, and what people are doing with this is they'll set up their check-in stations, and the Print Hub Express not only is our Express check-in, but it's also the Print Hub. So people set up their stations, the people get done checking their kids in, push enter, and the printer isn't next to that check-in station anymore. It's over there on the Print Hub Express. That way they walk away from that station, and it clears that station up for somebody else to come check in, and they walk over to the printers. So
that's a great idea. Because you can have everything print to one, the actual Print Hub Express, whether it's a check-in station or your phone. That's a great idea.
And then a question from Anita Edwards. So the Bluetooth needs to be turned on and not location on the parent's phone.
Yes, so the Bluetooth needs to be turned on, as well as location services for the KidCheck app specifically, and that's an iOS enablement. So, in fact, what will happen is when the parent loads up the actual KidCheck app, it will go through and ask permission to turn all those things on for the parent. Most parents have that all turned on by default, so very, very few we need to go and flip those on automatically. But the app will take care of that for them.
And how do you talk with locations about visitors who may not have the app? Does this interplay with them, or what are your thoughts on that for visitors that are coming in? And this question is from Lori.
So visitors, most generally you set up a visitor station so you can make it nice and easy for a visitor, and you can take their information from them via computer or via an iPad. But some visitors are tech savvy, so have them download the app. It doesn't take but just a minute to download it, and then they can be up to date and they can check in probably in their own area. We're pretty much throughout the world at this point.
So, question from Louie, is the print hub and the USB hub two different devices?
No, that's a great question. So the print hub, the way that the terminology kind of laid out, we first launched a product called the print hub, which was primarily just for tablets and customers that instead of using a full-blown computer for a check-in station, they wanted to use an iPad, for example. So that facilitated printing from the iPad. And then we kind of came up with our next generation of the print hub, and we added the Bluetooth beacon technology and all the Express Hub technology into that. And so we just called that the Print Hub Express, but it does both features. So that if you just wanted to do printing, you can still use the Print Hub Express, and you can have mobile devices, your tablets and that kind of stuff print to it. And or you can enable the Express Hub feature as well. Or, I'm sorry, the Print Hub Express feature, so that parents can actually do express check-in.
Excellent. And we have a couple of questions on the admin console, Darren, that you spoke about. The first one is from Jail. And when you text or call a person, will that person get your cell number that if you're calling with or without it be a KidCheck number?
It won't. So we have it coming over so it says KidCheck alert. And then that way, if you want to reply, you probably need to put in your phone number so they can reply back to you. We don't want to go out there and put the phone number out there. It just makes it much easier, and it just comes across KidCheck alert.
And the other side of that too is that in not including the phone number from or a reply phone number, for example, then we can tie into all of the cell phone providers via a free API, and so that the text messaging doesn't cost you anything. So if you want to do a standard text message where somebody can you can send them a text message and they can reply back directly, then they start charging for that, and it's not part of your normal data plan. For example, it would be something that we would have to pass on, and it would just make the whole process more expensive. So we just made it as easy and as inexpensive as we can.
Excellent. And on the admin console, Lori said that she doesn't use the admin console yet, but what's the protocol for visitors?
I'm not sure. Can she clarify that question? Protocol for visitors for admin console?
Yes,
the admin
Lori,
console
can you clarify that for us?
So the admin console is definitely for your administrators, your volunteers, your employees.
I think that's Express.
I think actually Lori may have been referring to Express. That was my fault.
Okay. So Express, as far as a visitor, they're going to have to check into your facility at least one time before they can utilize the Express check-in. So that app that I showed you, and I had 3 different locations in there, I had checked into all 3 of those locations, and that's when you can actually do an Express check-in after that point.
Okay. And then this statement in question comes in from Carol. She says, I love the admin console, but the fact that the text is one way, parent can't reply, is a big concern. Are there any plans to change that?
You know, at this point, there aren't. In fact, we've talked about a couple of different things, though, to get around the text messaging challenges. And that's part of that is just because we're playing with, cell providers' networks, and there's, the financial aspect of it and the logistical aspect of it. So one of the things that we have talked about doing is changing the admin console as well as the mobile app so that there be a texting, like a messaging feature, like almost like an instant messenger, so that you can instant message a parent's phone directly, just like a text message, but then they can chat back with you. So you can say, hey, you need to come and change your daughter's diaper, for example, and they can say, okay, I'm on my way, and you would see that back and forth. And that wouldn't go over the cell towers at all. That would actually just run through the same network that actually the Print Hub Express does for all of its printing. That's something we're looking at in the future. That would be a direct two-way communication that would be totally private. So that would be kind of the next phase above text messaging.
Excellent. And the next question comes from Jackie. Can Express be combined with non-Express?
Yeah, great question. The answer is absolutely yes. So in fact, in my church, I go to a Vineyard church, and we have a lot of parents that do either. So we have folks that'll do Express check-in and folks that'll do normal check-in station check-in. In fact, in a lot of cases, churches may want to have an iPad or a dedicated check-in station, even if they were completely on Express, but having a standard check-in station, at least one, just to handle visitors and any kind of lookups and that sort of thing, just becomes really, really handy. So I think looking at Express versus non-Express, a church could definitely go completely to Express if they wanted to and roll that out. But it'll probably be some kind of a combination. But it'll definitely help eliminate a lot of the check-in stations that you may need as your church grows.
And your fitness facility. I mean, our fitness facility also has that. So Express check-in is not limited to just churches. Fitness facilities, activity centers, karate studios, whatever. You can utilize all of that in any type of facility. So
yeah, good point.
Great. So the next question comes in from Sharita. She says, is there a recommended number of printing devices per children?
Wow, that's another one of those big it depends questions, I think. It just depends on the layout of your facility and what your check-in area looks like. I would imagine that most churches could, if you had a Print Hub Express, for example, with a couple of printers plugged into it, a church that's going to be checking in 50 to 100 kids could easily run that many. You have to keep in mind too, what we think about when parents go up to the check-in station and how they're there for, maybe a minute or, maybe 2 minutes if they're kind of not real computer savvy. A lot of that goes away because literally parents walk up, they push the big green button, and everything else just happens automatically. So they can spend all the time they want getting check-in ready on their phone as they're getting ready for church, or hopefully not driving the car, but maybe in the car they can be working on that. So that all of that time can be handled elsewhere instead of in line for your check-in stations.
Excellent. And then Ben has the question of what is the best way to name the printers to identify them?
So what I've seen is usually you would put in Express Print or Express Print Hub 1, Express Print 1, 2, 3, 4, and then put a sticker on that label or a card or something right behind it, so people know, hey, nobody's at printer 1, printer 2, printer 3, and then just name them according to that. And you guys just never forget, KidCheck has the most awesome support and training you could possibly imagine. If you guys have questions on this, please call us and talk to our support team. Schedule a personal training. That's what we're about, making this as easy as possible and getting you guys all trained up.
And keep in mind too, when you're looking at labeling or naming your printers, just making it simple is a great thing. And then also, it is a label printer, so you can print off a label for the label printer that tells you what the name of the printer is, and maybe which Express Hub it's actually tied into. Because they'll be grouped underneath each individual Express Hub. So whichever Express Hub they're plugged into, and then the names of those printers will be listed under that. It's really, really easy to find. I think our church has got 4 different Express check-in areas on 2 different Print Hub Expresses. And we just named them printer 1, 2, 3, 4. And so you just walk up, you see the label on the printer. Oh, this is number 4. You select number 4 out of the drop-down list, and the labels roll off almost instantly. In fact, in the video that we showed earlier, where we actually did an Express check-in, that was all done in real time. We didn't do any editing to try and slow that down or speed that up. It was you click the button and it just happens.
Excellent. So Francis also has a question, and it is, am I mistaken you cannot check out on the Express app? And if true, why not? this is what causes us lines?
So it depends on what you're on the checkout process that you have set up for your church. The reason that we don't do checkout on the Express app, you have to remember this is the parent that has the app in their hand. So for them to be able to do checkout, they're basically taking custody of a child away from the organization, and they could potentially do that from just about anywhere. So this is more of like a security question, but in the chain of custody, from a checkout standpoint, the church needs to be the one that does the checkout, just like the parent needed to be the one to do the check-in. And so you can use the admin console to do checkout. You can scan badges if you want. You can do a bulk checkout, or you can let the system just automatically check all the kids out at midnight. So there's several different ways to do the checkout, if you will. The labels that print off on the printer are designed to do visual checkout, so that it's as fast as possible, where you just match the security codes or match the watermark images that come off on those labels with the guardian's receipt. And then most churches just let the system handle checkout automatically at midnight, or they just run a bulk checkout when the service is over.
Excellent. And then the next question from Jennifer is, how do I update a phone number or parent? And I'm assuming she's referring to the Express Check-in app. Jennifer, you can clarify that if I've stated that incorrectly.
So I'll take that. It sounds like she's actually trying to update a parent as an administrator, and you do that through the actual desktop system. You're not going to be able to do that as an administrator on your app. You're going to have to go back to a PC or a Mac to do that, right in your people section. And Jennifer, if you want to give us a call, I could definitely show you how to do that. It's a real simple, easy process.
Excellent. And the next question comes from Dottie. Do I have to do anything to my current KidCheck setup to activate this?
So Dottie, all you would need is to purchase a PrintHub Express. If you have one already, then you would just need to activate that PrintHub Express as an Express license. So you do have to license that device to make it a PrintHub Express check-in. So, and give us a call. We can help you with that as well.
And Susan states, Kate, we appreciate having a timestamp for the checkout in case there is ever a question. And I think that also speaks to what is the value of checking out, which I believe you guys covered pretty well. Next, let's go into, Sherry asks, we're definitely sending out a link. We can send you the video, Sherry, not a problem. Barbara from Indianapolis, can you clarify if you start your check-in but decide not to come, is that child still showing on the roster?
Yeah, that's a great question. We get that question pretty frequently, and the answer is no. So what's happening is when somebody does an Express check-in on their phone and they fill out all that information, our system basically it just takes all that information and it prepares it for check-in, but it never actually goes into the check-in data set. So what happens then is that when they show up to church and they click the big green button on their phone that says finish check-in, that's when the KidCheck servers move it from the Express check-in, like waiting for check-in area, and actually put it into the actual check-in data set. So if somebody does a check-in or an Express check-in at their house, for example, and they never show up, you'll never see it. So they actually have to physically be there at your church to complete that Express check-in for that data to actually be there.
Excellent. And Anita Edwards asks, can the parent check in their child for multiple services? Example, both 9 a.m. and noon?
Of course. Yeah, that's just part of the program. And all you have to do is activate a program in your Express Check-in tab. And we can show you how to do that through our support or personal training.
Yeah, one other thing that to mention, Darren, that I think we might have jumped over was that as a church and as an organization that wants to do Express Check-in, you have total control over what templates and or programs and what times or dates those will actually be activated for Express Check-in. So a parent can't just go and say, like, if it's a Tuesday afternoon, they're not going to be able to go in and check in for Sunday morning, for example. Only on Sunday morning will they actually see your Sunday morning, templates and programs and that kind of thing. So you, as an administrator, you have full control of when Express Check-in becomes available or not available for your parents.
Exactly.
I think it's the rights of the roles. It's
All
the
right.
administrative roles.
So for Mary, can we have a new right level that allows teachers to text parents without having full administrative rights?
That's a great question, Mary. I'm not sure on I'll have to go back and look at the actual permission set levels that are on there, but that's something we can certainly look at.
Great. And then Veronica asks, is there a way to set up a separate login for your volunteers to have access to the admin app to be able to message parents and see the roster, but not have access to other room admin options?
Yeah. So one of the things that is really, really important with KidCheck, and we try and help organizations set themselves up this way, but you don't ever want to have like a generic login that everybody uses. It's really the entire system is designed so that everybody can have their own individual login, their own unique permission sets, their own passwords, so they can manage their own kids' information as well as do any administrator functions that you deem necessary. So if you're using a single like username and password for more than one person, or like a generic username and password, you really don't want to do that because if somebody decides to leave the church or leave the organization for whatever reason, you don't want them to have access into your KidCheck data to be able to pull information back out and mess with the system. So from a security standpoint, you really want to give each individual person their own individual login information. And then you can set up permissions to say, okay, this person can do these functions and this person can do these functions, and be more granular that way.
Great. Now, Amanda says, can we use the same printer from a computer check-in station as well as an express check-in station?
So you can, but you don't want to get too much of a backlog. So depending on how many children you're checking in, you want to make sure, we try to keep it a 50-to-1 ratio. So if you have 100 people and you're checking in on a system and also using it for an express check-in, you might get people in a line if you're doing that. You could do it, but you just might get a longer line.
One other thing to mention, though, is that the KidCheck Express Hub, because it is just our normal print hub software that runs on that, you can absolutely unplug a printer from a computer and plug it into the Express Hub, and then tell that computer to print all the labels to that Express Hub without any problem. And then you can also have that Express Hub work as a check-in station, or I'm sorry, as a express check-in station, so parents can do express check-in on their phone, and then their labels can come off on the same printer. But to Darren's point, you want to be careful about just having a lot of print jobs going to just one printer. You definitely want to have multiple printers set up if you're going to do that.
Great. And then we have Melissa, and Melissa is, we use KidCheck with a weekday child care center and would love a way to do a bulk check-in. We currently scan them as they make their way in. Is there any way to use this new app to help with this? We do not use labels.
Yeah, so doing like a bulk check-in where you're going to want to check in a whole bunch of kids at once, the system is really designed, again, to have a parent or guardian check each child individually. But there are ways to get around that. So I just encourage you to give our KidCheck support team a call, and we'll kind of walk you through some of the different options you have to do that.
Great. And so then Eric asks, will bulk checkout be added? Did you just answer that? Sorry.
Yeah, bulk check-in as a specific feature is something that's on our radar. It's not something that's right around the corner, but it's definitely on the feature list of things to add.
Excellent. And we have, Francis asks, we have more than one service, so we have to check some kids out so we can have room for the next group of kids. Would a scanner help us with this, and how?
So go ahead, Alex.
Well, I was just going to say that there's a couple of different ways to do that. I would recommend having a second check-in template so that you can have all of your first service kids checked into one template, and then you can either use a program to automatically switch to your second check-in template, or you can just manually switch your check-in stations over just with a click of a button, so that it basically will reset everything so that the next group of kids that are coming for the second service can check in without having to check everybody out of the first service. Yeah,
and please email us. Whoever asked that question, I didn't catch the name. I'm sorry.
Francis.
Francis, email us at support@kidcheck.com, and we can help you with that. We can help that set up a lot.
Excellent. And then I don't believe I asked this question. This is from Tracy, and she asks, how do you do the checkout on the admin?
So you can't do checkout on the admin console as of yet.
Okay.
So the admin console doesn't allow that. And I'm sure that's going to be something that we're looking down the road, but not as of yet.
And to clarify that, that's you can't do that on the admin console mobile app.
Right.
On the admin console in the actual application itself, in the web-based application, you absolutely can do that.
Yes.
Great. And then Brian asks, will Express integrate pagers?
Yeah, so that's another really good question. So paging right now is something else that's on the list to add to Express Check-in. It becomes a little difficult because then now you're having to have parents kind of go back to a specific spot to actually get to get a pager and complete their check-in and enter that back into the app. But that's something that we're definitely looking at from a workflow standpoint.
Great. And then Rebecca says, many of our parents created accounts while check-in was running, meaning they do not have passwords set up. Is there an easy way for them to create a password without having to click the forgot password link?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the easiest way to do that is you can actually send them emailed invitations. So if you go to the people section in KidCheck and you find the parent that needs to get a username and password set up, you can actually send them an invitation to create that. And what that'll be is it'll actually be an email to their primary email box. It'll have a unique URL that they click on in there that will come back and just ask them for a username and password, and it'll link right up to their account automatically. So that's probably the easiest way. If they go back to the main website though and just start the actual I need to register for KidCheck, it'll do a quick search to see if they're already in the database, and if they are, it'll auto link all that information as well.
Exactly.
Great. And so we're closing up now, but one final question is, Darren, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about licensing overall and what that looks like for Express.
So Express check-in or anything at KidCheck that does a check-in, so any check-in device, meaning a PC, a Mac, a tablet, iPad, a phone, if it is doing check-in, it has to be licensed. So your Print Hub Express, your little Print Hub, has to be licensed to do check-in. So does that make sense?
Great. And then overall, I think one question that came in a while ago was, do organizations actually need a separate piece of equipment in order to utilize Express?
Yeah, you'll need the Print Hub Express, that little black cube that I showed you earlier on KidCheck. So if you just go out to print or KidCheck.com and go to the KidCheck store and scroll down till you see the KidCheck Print Hub, that's what you need to do that.
Great. And then final question is from Mary, and Mary says, as frequently as possible, can you send us a list of upcoming upgrades?
That's a great question. And in general, we don't do that just because we try and keep the things that we're working on and the things that are coming like an industry secret. So that's part of what makes KidCheck special is we're trying to make sure we lead the pack in terms of new features and new things. And so we generally don't share that until those are released. But new features that do come out, we typically will do press releases on and notify folks through the little pop-up windows when you first log into KidCheck. There's oftentimes a little notification window about a new feature or something new that we're doing. So I would just definitely keep an eye on that for sure.
Great. And then the final question that came in from Janelle is, she says, I may have missed this question, but for about 150 children, how many printers are needed if we do the Express check-in? And how many licenses do we need to purchase? Would we need any check-in stations or just use phones only?
So that's kind of a loaded question. So it depends on how you're going to do the setup. And Janelle, I would love to talk to you about that. So if you could email me at sales@kidcheck.com, attention Darren, and you and I can discuss that further. Because with 150 kids, you're going to want 3 devices. Okay, so whether it's a PC, a Mac, an iPad, a cell phone, you're going to want 3 devices. And most generally, each device is going to have a printer connected to it. So if that makes sense.
Excellent. And that follows with Janine's question, which is, how do you get licensed on the iPad or iPhone?
So Janelle, it's a real easy deal to do. So on the bottom of that app, you're going to have check-in down there if you're an administrator. And once you go to that check-in, it'll say, hey, this device is not licensed. And in the top right-hand corner, you're going to want to say, edit this license, and you'll add a license to that device.
And one thing to mention that I want to make sure that we're really clear about, there's kind of a difference between using a mobile device like an iPad or a tablet or your phone as a check-in station, which you can absolutely do, versus the express check-in experience that parents do. So express check-in on a parent's iPhone, there's no license needed there. That's totally free. And that's why we license the Print Hub Express as the check-in device, because a parent has to be within range of that. But if you're using tablets, for example, as check-in stations rather than a regular Windows PC or a Mac, that device would need to be licensed as a full check-in station. So and that would, the tablet's going to be maybe bolted to a wall or on a counter or something like that a parent would go up and interact with. So there's really two different kind of licensing models there. For express check-in for your parents, it's absolutely 100% free. They can use the app and do express check-in without any problems at all. And only the actual Print Hub Express device needs to be licensed.
Great. So Cora Lee, she snuck in one final question, and then we're going to have to wrap it up. But Cora Lee asks, going back to express check-in with the required distance range that a phone is required to be within in order for the printer to print, if there are multiple families lined up to collect their labels, is the printer just going to print continuously labels for all the families?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's only going to print. So as a parent walks up and they get the green button, it's only and they actually complete check-in. It will only print that parent's labels. It's not going to print everybody's labels, for example. And you have to remember too that the Print Hub Express is a very, very fast device in terms of how quickly it will start printing your labels. So typically somebody can walk right up to the device, click the button, and they're done in 2 seconds. Versus having, it's not going to be like you have a whole bunch of parents in a line waiting to get to the printer, where, the person in the back of the line is going to print in front of the person in the front of the line. I mean, parents will just kind of figure this out. Hey, I just walk up, click the button, grab my labels, and off I go. So it has a natural kind of an anti-line ability to it, just because it is so fast. So it generally, in the all the experiences that I've seen with it in our church, I have not had any problem with it at all.
And one thing, let me put in there real quick, is if somebody walks to the door and they're sitting there looking at their app, and as soon as that button turns green and they push go on it, it's going to print. And if somebody's in front of the printer, it's going to print the Smiths family before the Anderson family. So this is something you need to tell your clients. Hey, don't push the green button until you're right in front of the printer. Somebody else is going to end up with your labels. So just clarify a little.
Even if somebody else does grab the labels, it's very, very clear, because it has
exactly
on the label. So it's not like anybody's going to mix them up.
Great. Well, looks like that's all the questions that we have for today. Darren and Alex, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, just thank you everybody for attending, and just great questions. I'm just absolutely just totally impressed with everybody and the questions that we got. So thank you very much. Thanks for letting us share this, and I really appreciate it.
And from my side of it, just remember, KidCheck really hangs their hat on their support and their personal training. If you guys need anything at all, please call us and we can help you support-wise, or we can set up a personal training and get you all trained up.
All right. Well, thanks again, and we'll shut down from there. Take care. Bye-bye.